All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, a 6-1 start to this National Football League season had the New York Giants buzzing, but since then, they've had a harsh reality check waiting for them. Now, New York has dropped 5 out of their last 7 games, with the ultimate dose of reality rudely greeting them today at home. Today was a litmus test for the Giants as they welcomed the 11-1 Philadelphia Eagles to MetLife Stadium. And it didn't take the Eagles that long to show not only why they are the class of the NFC, but also that the Giants still have plenty of work ahead of them if they're going to become a championship contender. Now, Philadelphia put the Giants out of their misery early on in this contest, as by the middle of the second quarter, the Eagles had built a 21 to nothing cushion. And if you've seen the Giants play offense this year, you knew that that deficit was too much for them to overcome, and obviously it was, as they fell today to Philadelphia by the score of 48 to 22. Now, earlier this season, the Giants were able to get by with their one trick pony offense. But in recent weeks, opposing defenses have keyed on running back Saquon Barkley, as they know that New York does not have the arsenal to throw the football down the field. Now, outside of the win against the Houston Texans a couple weeks ago when Barkley had more than 150 yards on the ground, it's been tough sledding for him. And that included today, as this Eagles defense was all over him and limited him to just 28 yards on the ground. And of course, when you're the Giants and you fall behind so early, so early in this contest, it really takes away the effectiveness of Barkley going forward. Now, New York has been one of the worst passing offenses or passing teams in the NFL all season long. They're 28th in the league in passing. Obviously, that this is a part of this personnel that the Giants definitely are going to be attempting to address in the offseason. But nonetheless, for the present, they got a lot of work ahead of them to try to fix this. And it's really, hindering what this team can try to do. Now, we know that the Giants have a solid defense, was not the case today, obviously, and a good ground attack. But that ground attack has not been what it was at the beginning of the season, due to the fact that teams have simply taken it away and said, you know what, Giants, you got to go out there and beat us with your passing game. And unfortunately for New York, they are unable to answer the bell on that. So you look at head coach Brian Daboll, and he's done what he can with this team due to the fact that the personnel just does not fit the scheme at this point in time, and he's really had to dumb it down. You talk about Daniel Jones, and it's been a lot of dinking and dunking for him in this passing attack. But at the end of the day, the Giants just don't have the guys around Daniel Jones, and it's one of those where I think he's going to continue to get the incomplete grade, if you will, because we don't know what he can fully be. The offensive line has improved in comparison to years past for the Giants when it was really horrific. But nonetheless, if you don't have that threat at the receiver position for guys, multiple guys, and the Giants really don't even have that guy yet who can go down there and put fear in opposing secondaries and keep them honest. Well, guess what? What you're seeing is going to continue to happen, where opposing defenses can basically key 7, 8, or maybe even 9 guys up in that box and dare the Giants to beat them. And, I hate to sound like a broken record, but at the end of the day, New York cannot do it. So if you're the Giants, you're 7-5-1 at this point. You are still right there in the mix for a postseason spot. And you're going to have more opportunities ahead of you over the final 4 games. You're at Washington next week. The Giants and the Commanders just tied last Sunday at MetLife Stadium. The Commanders are off this Sunday, so they're going to take the field fresh uh, for next Sunday's showdown, but it's a winnable game. It's also a losable game for the Giants, depending on how you look at it. New York will then be in Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Their final home game of the season will be in a couple of weeks against the Indianapolis Colts, and then they're on the road in week number 18 against the Philadelphia Eagles. And that Eagle game is going to more than likely be very winnable for the Giants because we saw the Eagles clinch a playoff berth today. More than likely, Philadelphia is going to be the top seed in the NFC. And probably at that point, we could talk about Philly resting their guys. So the Giants could, be able to take advantage of that. We got to wait and see. Obviously, a lot has to happen between now and then. All of these are winnable games for the Giants. And I do expect the Giants to give a much more spirited effort next Sunday against Washington. Not saying that the Giants are just going to go out there and beat the Commanders simply because they got blown out today. But nonetheless, obviously, the Commanders are not on the same level as the Eagles. Granted, the Commanders did hand Philadelphia their only loss of the season so far. But nonetheless, it's still an opportunity for the Giants to get back on track. They've got to be more crisp in their passing game. You like what you saw a couple of weeks ago from the Giants, at least with their philosophy on Thanksgiving Day during the loss to Dallas, where they opened things up to start trying to pass the ball vertically down the field. It was hit and miss, more miss than hit. And it's a scenario where you got to do things like that going forward in order to keep opposing defenses honest. So after getting punched in the mouth today, let's see how the Giants respond next Sunday on the road against the Commanders. Still, every opportunity in front of them to turn this around. If you ask me, will they be a playoff team? There's a possibility. I'm not going to say yes, and I'm not going to say no. But first and foremost, let's see how this team responds next Sunday against Washington. This was a huge reality check for the Giants. They got a ways to go. They are not even in the class of the Philadelphia Eagles. I expected the Eagles to win this game in dominating fashion today, and the Eagles lived up to that. The Giants, they still got some work ahead of them, but let's see how they bounce back next week against the Commanders. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.